Today, I come to share a message that I think we need a little bit in this year, in this time that we live in. It's a message of hope and inspiration and a chance to explore the importance of moving forward when we feel stuck, when we need to find a way of embracing the motivation to embrace a life of purpose. What does it look like for us to fully embrace our own life? How do we do that when we feel a pull to go or grow in a new direction, but we feel stuck, we feel scared, or we just feel overwhelmed by the news around us? A dozen years ago, I was not doing so great. In fact, I would say that I was at the worst I had ever been. And as a guy who recently spent 3 weeks in the ICU, I think that's saying something. I was beaten down. I was exhausted. I was empty after years of hardship. I suffered a debilitating spinal cord injury. I lost my business. I had my truck stolen. I was reeling from the loss of loved ones who had recently passed. And I looked around me and I just saw a world on fire. I felt broken. And I felt hopeless. I felt stuck, and I was ready to just throw my arms up, sit back, and watch the world go by. And I wasn't just content at that time to watch the world go, but I was paralyzed by fear to do anything about it. What if I suffered loss again? What if I failed again? What if I made the wrong decisions, or if I committed to something that I later regretted? What if I somehow made things even worse? What if I wasted my time? And that was a tough thought. To waste my precious time here on this earth, what could be worse than that? But I was already wasting my time. I was not living my authentic life. I was letting life happen at me. Life was being filled by the things that just happened around me rather than the things that I wanted. I was a passenger in my own car. I was a sidekick in my own story. For the younger ones here, I was an NPC in my own game. It's non-player character. I am missing a page, excuse me. Well, when you're preparing for ministry, they tell you to be ready for anything. So, I'm living in this attic apartment in a not so great area of the city of Philadelphia. In fact, the day that I had moved into this apartment, it was a 4th floor walk-up attic, someone was shot right in front of my building. It was not a great sign of the things that were to come. I had returned to this apartment one night after working a double shift at the only job I could find, washing dishes. I came back, I was covered in dirty dishwater, taco remnants, salsa. I smelled of beer, but I didn't have the chance to enjoy any. It was about midnight and I came home. And all I wanted to do was crash in the mattress on the corner of the floor. But I had recently lost people who were important to me. I lost a young nephew, and I had a daily ritual of lighting a candle in his honor. And I was not going to go to bed before I lit that candle and honored my nephew. So I went over to the small altar that I had set up in the apartment, and in keeping with the day and the times, the candle would not light. The wick was buried in the wax. So we went over to the small, we'll call it a kitchen and be generous, in the corner of the apartment with the refrigerator and the hot plate. And in keeping in the theme of this apartment, there was a window in that kitchen area that would not quite shut all the way. So as I'm looking for a knife to dig the wick out of this candle, I hear something outside of my window. It's not something you usually hear in that section of Philadelphia, so it struck me. It was the sound of Frank Sinatra's voice. And I remember him asking me directly through the song. He said, "What are you doing with the rest of your life?" That hit me so hard. I had never heard that song before, that particular Sinatra song. In fact, I had to go look it up later to make sure that I wasn't hearing things. But it was Frank Sinatra, clear as day, asking me through my kitchen window, "What are you doing with the rest of your life?" I thought about that all night. I realized I wasn't doing anything with my life. It felt like I was doing things. I was working. I was moving into an apartment. I was trying. But I was just getting by. What am I doing with the rest of my life? Those words haunted me all night. And I realized I was not truly embracing my own life. So the next morning I woke up. Well, I didn't really wake up. I was up all night. I got out of bed. I got my phone. I ended up reaching out to someone I never thought would get back to me. It was someone I had a crush on since high school. I hadn't seen them in years, and by some minor miracle, she responded. And now, 13 years later, we're married and raising our 2-year-old Willow together, who I really hope to bring today, but she's 2 years old on a Sunday morning on a 4th of July weekend. It's a little difficult. You know, our faith proclaims the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and for a long time, I had forgot to include myself in all people. I had forgotten the worth and the dignity of my own life. I spent the next few years embracing a life of purpose. I started down this road, this path that brought me to ministry here before you today. And when I started that path, when I took those first steps into professional ministry, that long, complicated road of UU ordination that some of you may be familiar with, I had a lot of friends reach out and ask me, "Why? Why are you going into ministry? Why UU? Why right now?" And I've given many long, complicated answers, but at the core of any answer I give is my belief that the spirit of any congregation is to come together in community to try and be better. I think that's a sentiment that we can all appreciate that the world needs right now, perhaps more than ever, trying to be better. Not better than someone else or something else, but just better. Being better means turning against those primal human instincts of fear and anger, and instead saying yes to courage and to love, of turning against the socialized instincts of staying quiet, of going with the flow, and instead saying yes to living your convictions, of embracing your authentic life. Because back then, I was living in a world of maybe. When we are too comfortable or too afraid to say yes or to say no, we live in this limbo of maybe. It's a world of non-commitment and indecision and vacillation, and it presents us with the illusion of ease. How many of us have ever received an invitation, maybe an evite, and rather than commit to saying yes or no, just responded with that dreaded maybe? It's hard to plan a party for 100 maybes. But now take yourself back, way back to elementary school. You're sitting at a desk in grade school and you get a folded note passed to you and it says something like, "Do you like me?" Circle, yes, no, maybe. You could probably guess what got circled the most. Or perhaps you're the one sending the note and getting that dreaded non-committal response back. If you remember that feeling of getting maybe as your answer, you'll remember and recall that living in a world of maybe is difficult, it is often disappointing, and it is rarely ever life enriching. In the spirit of committing to saying yes, I want to share something with you today. It is my absolute favorite poem. It is a work by Andrea Gibson, a nationally renowned poet from Denver, Colorado. And I cannot recommend enough that you check out their work after the service. It's a little longer than something I would usually share on a Sunday morning, but I wanted to share something that I love with all of you. It is appropriately titled, Say Yes. And I will try to attempt to read it with the kind of conviction and passion that Andrea would. When two violins are placed in a room, if a chord on one violin is struck, the other violin will sound its note. If this is your definition of hope, this is for you. The ones who know how powerful we are, who know we can sound the music in the people around us simply by playing our strings, for the ones who sing life into broken wings, open their chests and offer their breath as wind on a still day when nothing seems to be moving, spare those intent on proving God is dead. For you, when your fingers are red from clutching your heart so it will beat faster, for the time you mastered the art of giving yourself for the sake of someone else, for the ones who have felt what it is to crush the lies and lift the truth up to the sky, so high the steeples bow, this is for you. This is also for people who wake early to watch flowers bloom, who notice the moon at noon on a day when the world has slapped them in the face with its lack of light, for mothers who feed their children first and thirst for nothing when they're full. This is for women, and for the men who taught me only women bleed with the moon. But there are men who cry when women bleed, men who bleed from women's wounds, and this is for that moon. On the night she seems hung by a noose, for the people who cut her loose, and for the people still waiting for the rope to burn, about to learn they have scissors in their hands. This is for the man who showed me the hardest thing about having nothing is having nothing to give, who said the only reason to live is to give ourselves away. So this is for the day we'll quit our jobs and work for something real. We'll feel for sunshine in the shadows and look for sun rays in the shade. This is for the people who rattle the cage that slave wage built, and for the ones who didn't know the filth until tonight, but right now are beginning songs that sound something like people turning their porch lights on and calling the homeless back home. This is for all the stuff we own, and for the day we'll learn how much we have when we learn to give that stuff away. This is for doubt becoming faith, for falling from grace and climbing back up, for trading our silver platters for something that matters, like the gold that shines from our hands when we hold each other. This is for the grandmother who walked 1,000 miles on broken glass to find a single patch of grass to plant a family tree where the fruit would grow to laugh. For the ones who know the math of war has always been subtraction, so they live like an act of addition. For you, when you give like every star is wishing on you, and for the people still wishing on stars, this is for you too. This is for the time you went through hell so someone else wouldn't have to. For the time you taught a 14-year-old girl she was powerful. For the time you taught a 14-year-old boy he was beautiful. For the radical anarchist asking a Republican to dance, because what's the chance of everyone moving from right to left if the only moves they see are NBC and CBS? This is for no becoming yes, for scars becoming breath, for saying I love you to the people who will never say it to us, for scraping away the rust and remembering how to shine, for the dime you gave away when you didn't have a penny, for the many beautiful things we do, for every song we've ever sung. This is for refusing to believe in miracles because miracles are the impossible becoming true and everything is possible. This is for the possibility that guides us and for the possibility still waiting to sing and spread their wings inside us, because tonight Saturn is on his knees proposing with all of his 10,000 rings that whatever song we've been singing, we sing even more. The world needs us right now more than it ever has before. So pull all of your strings, play every chord. If you're writing letters to prisoners, start tearing down the bars. If you're handing out flashlights in the dark, start handing out stars. Never go a second, hushing the percussion of your heart. Play loud, play like you know the clouds have left too many people cold and broken, and you're their last chance for sun. Play like there's no hoping for brighter days will come. Play like the apocalypse is only 4, 3, 2. But you have a drum in your chest that could save us. You have a song like a breath that could raise us, like the sunrise into a dark sky that cries to be blue. Play like you know we won't survive if you don't, but we will if you do. Play like Saturn is on his knees, proposing with all of his 10,000 rings that we give every single breath. This is for saying yes. This is for saying yes. Amen. Amen. Thank you. I love that poem, if it's not clear. And what I think gets to me most every time I read it, every stanza, almost every line, is an example of people making choices and moves to embrace life. And the line that stands out to me the most is when they say, "This is for saying I love you to people who will never say it to us." I feel so moved by that. That is the most selfless act of courage and love that I can imagine. It is the true spirit of loving thy neighbor, and I cannot think of a better example in the spirit of saying yes, of embracing a life of purpose, of doing something that we believe is right and wonderful, when it would be much easier not to. When we know that there is no reward or payoff other than our belief that it should be done. See, I believe that the hardest part about living a mortal life is not the knowledge that it must one day end, but that we only have so much time to put love out into the world, as much love into the world as we possibly can. There's a line, "The only reason to live is to give yourself away," and I believe that. With every ounce of my being, I believe that. And so what I'd love for you to take away from today is this. Find something that motivates you to be you. Whether it's art or music, a poem, find something that makes you want to say yes to your most authentic life and embrace it. Embrace it with everything you have. Hang it up on the wall. Put it on your mirror. Put one of it in your car. Wrap your life in the authenticity of who you are. These situations that Andrea Gibson presents to us in that poem, they are a challenge to live our lives authentically and to embrace our true selves. When we live authentically, we commit to action and align those actions with our values. May we all find the strength and determination to live our lives authentically and with purpose. So, whatever song you've been singing, sing even more, because the world needs you now more than it ever has before. Amen.